Look at that. Look at that.
I regularly scroll Facebook Marketplace and, well, every now and then I come across a little golden nugget.
Today's little nugget just happens to be unicycles. So yeah, I've purchased 5 unicycles that I've seen for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and it was a great deal, about $80 for all of them. And of course the first thing I should do is try and ride it with no experience at all. This has started a journey. After pumping up those tires, I was ready to try and learn how to ride a unicycle. And I knew it was just going to take time and lots of effort. Which includes just getting up and trying again after every failure. Initially, I thought practicing on the grass would be a good idea because it's supposed to be a softer surface to fall onto, but it's also a very bumpy surface. So it's onto the concrete for me, and to be honest, I did find it to be much better for practice. It may be hard to tell, but I was quite happy with that. So I spent the next while just practicing and grinding, and oh, look, he's happy. Try after try with small improvements, and I began to understand what I was trying to do. And this is all still in the first 12 minutes of trying. Taking breaks is important though, and I made sure to have a nice break and let the sun come out, so that I could go back outside and try it all over again. With that little bit of time to process, my brain instantly knew how to improve on what I had been doing before. I went all the way to the edge of the concrete, completed that little goal. But one thing that no little video I've watched one video on YouTube. Anyway, the one video I watched on YouTube, he did not have the guts to say that make sure you don't sit on your balls. If you're a guy, you've got a balls, or even one ball, make sure you don't sit on it, because that hurts and it makes it a lot more difficult to figure out what you're doing. Okay. This can really hurt your balls. Now, just then I did something where my left foot came off. I think this foot had come around a little bit, and then my left foot come off, which put all the weight on this foot, which pushed it back, which it was leaning like that, so it pushed up into me. Not the hardest kick in the balls, but you definitely feel it.
I know you left your hair tied in my room, just so I could think of dreaming you. I know you like the way I look at you. I just wanna say
I got halfway down the road. Whew. Good bit of progress there. I find that it's the start that's really important. Once I nail the start and I get going, it's all good. Little bits of progress every day.
Now moving back to the go-kart, it is time to fix the brakes on this thing. So I'm going to take them off of the go-kart and place them on my workbench. I fully pull them apart to better understand how they are working and not working, and I do see that the pads aren't very worn down at all. So I end up putting a spacer in behind one of the pads and then reattach it back to the go-kart. In the tests, I see that the brakes are now working perfectly. So of course I'm pulling it apart again, because surely there's something else I can do.
After taking the big lid off, I've come into where all the wires are hanging out to check and see what I've got control of, and I have found that this brown wire, when connected to ground, puts it in reverse, and this grey wire, when connected to ground, indicates that the brakes are on and disables the motor. Two features that I will be adding to this, and the reverse has a safety in it, so you can't be doing reversey, firsties, reversies, and braking things. So that's a great little feature, which means I'll only use a momentary button rather than an actual switch for reverse.
Since I just got the brakes going, I decided that was a great place to start. So first, I removed the original connector that is on the motor controller and attached my own connectors to it, so I can attach it to this switch that I've found in my collection of buttons and switches. It seems like the appropriate choice for where it's going to go. Back at the go-kart, I remove the plate that's holding the brakes on the go-kart and find a spot to mark out and drill out so that I can attach that switch appropriately to it. I add a couple of nuts and bolts and make sure that it's fitting firmly in place so that it's not going to move during the hard and rough use of the go-kart. Then I attach a cable from the armature of the brakes to the little armature of that momentary switch that you see, so that it's in a sort of reverse orientation. So rather than the switch being engaged to engage the sensor, the switch being engaged means that the circuit is open, and then once the switch is released via the brakes being engaged, it then creates a circuit, thus letting the controller know the brakes are on and to stop spinning the motor so that you don't have the brakes fighting the motor and then just damaging everything in between. Here we get to see it in action. With the accelerator held down and the brakes engaged, the motor stops working. The motor could very easily overpower these brakes, especially with me lightly pressing on the brakes like that. In this angle, you can see that the switch is pressed on while the gates are disengaged, and once the brakes are engaged, the switch is released, thus closing the circuit. Yesterday, I pulled the case off and I've put brakes back in this machine and gotten them working really well. Today's goal is I will be rewiring the little turn on switch, as well as adding a reverse button and potentially adding a little display to indicate how much battery life you have left. Initially, when putting the case back on, I had to reach underneath and put two individual wires onto the switch to enable the switch to work. So here I'm soldering on a plug that screws in place so that it is much easier to make the connection and have the switch active, as well as adding that little indicator light to it that you'll see shortly. I also have this little switch here, which is going to be the main kill switch. In its resting position, it is left on, but if you flick this up and push that switch over, it is now disabled the entire go-kart. Anyone familiar with this switch will have noticed that I have inverted its resting position so that it can't accidentally shut down the go-kart while in use. It'll be attached to the opposite side of the frame, simply just to make it a little more obscure and harder to find. Because water is everywhere and I don't want it to damage the ignition switch, I'll be covering it in some liquid electrical tape, just to help protect it while out in the elements. I'll be putting on a generous load. With the new switch prepped, I'm prepping the case so that I can make an absolute mess of it. I'll be measuring out and cutting out the holes for the small display, the reverse button, and making sure that the switch itself has the appropriate sized hole. All done by eye, of course. Admittedly, cutting out that square hole was a little more difficult than I thought and isn't quite right. There are some gaps that we'll be showing, but that's not really an issue because it will be filled in with some liquid electrical tape. And after a little bit of fine tuning, the screen sits in there quite nicely. Next, I can put in the now dried ignition switch and the momentary button for reverse. With the components in place, now I can begin soldering. I've opted to solder them while they're in place because unless I make some extreme changes, they're not really going to need to be moved or adjusted in any way. With everything soldered up and untested, I cover up the button, switch and display with some gaffer's tape just to make sure none of the liquid electrical tape leaks out the wrong side. Then, with it flipped over, I give all the components a generous helping of liquid electrical tape. This is just the first coating of a few more to come. While the liquid electrical tape is drying on the case of the kart, I'm working on the chassis and getting all the wires tidied up, as well as adding in the new circuits and soldering the reciprocals to it, ready to be plugged into the new switch, button and display on the case. Considering I haven't actually tested anything as a whole, I do have a little bit of worry in me that something might not work, but I am confident that everything will go fine. Making a mess is pretty normal in this kind of project, so I always make sure that I take the time to pull everything out, give the floor a good sweep and a tidy up so that I can be comfortable working in a clean environment. With a further 2 layers of the liquid electrical tape on, it is time to put this kart back together. And with the added plugs, putting the case back on has never been so easy. These modifications really do make the kart feel like new.
Look at that.